Alright guys, today we are going to talk a little bit about creativity. I've spent most of my time either making art for other people as commissions or doing freelance work. I feel like there's a big gap. You know, when I was younger as a kid, obviously everything you do, you just make up. And then all of a sudden people start to pay you for it and you have to draw what they want. So I did that for a few years, obviously, like everyone else, and I didn't make any time for my own work, and I found that I felt that I wasn't very creative after a certain point, and that it was hard to come up with my own ideas. So I kind of hit a certain point where I was like, you know, I don't like that feeling, and I want to be able to become more creative. I don't personally think that creativity is something innate. I think it's more of a muscle that you can work and grow. I think becoming creative is just a matter of practice. It's just like your drawing ability. So with this painting, I just kind of sat down and started drawing whatever came to mind, whatever I thought would be cool, and sort of started piecing it together. Ends up being some kind of a weird, I don't know, demon chick with some broken floating armor and a samurai sword, but that's cool, right? Why not? I do think now, I mean, I did this piece almost a year ago, so I think artistically I've changed a little bit, and it's becoming easier and easier to be more creative. I think part of it too is, I think everybody's creative, it's just a matter of self-confidence. You hit a point where you think like nobody wants to know like what I think and about my ideas. They just want to see like fan art and things that they already like. But I don't think that's the case. I think people really enjoy when you have your own crazy ideas. So this piece, if we talk about it a little bit, I mean, it's pretty much the same process as my other ones. You can go back and check out my other videos. I did use a 3D model at one point with this. I think I did that with the Anna painting as well. It helps a lot to kind of jump you from a sketch into something that's then paintable. It can be a really good shortcut to use, but I also think it's kind of limiting, and I do think that too much 3D will kill whatever style you have. I think it makes your art look like everyone else's, which is good in a production setting. That's kind of what you want, but when you're being an individual, I think that it can take away from like your art, and people won't be able to recognize it as much. That's kind of why I've started, I guess, moving away from using 3D as much. But if we go back to kind of the idea of being creative, you just have to take two ideas and smash them together. That's a good starting place. So I was like, alright, I want to make some sort of monster with a mask, and I want a weird fantasy armor. I mean, those aren't very different ideas. Probably would be better if I had picked less similar things. I think the further apart your ideas are, the more successful your concept can be. It's not necessarily true, I guess, but it's a good place to kind of start. And do weird stuff, you know, like, you don't have to follow rules when you're making your own art. If you want weird magic or things to float, or, you know, like her hair is just ridiculous and out of control, but it looks cool. And I think at the end of the day, that's why we all make art. We want it to look cool, right? When you work in a production setting, you're constantly following rules, so it can be kind of tricky to figure out that you can break them on your own stuff. And you usually end up with better art because of it, I think. And I also think doing exercises like this and going back and doing more personal art is important for your growth as an artist as well. Doing stuff like this, like I said, it helps you build confidence in your own art. And it helps you realize that you can do other things too, and that confidence will then pay dividends within your production stuff too, or your like freelance, or if you're doing commissions for friends. The more weird you can get with stuff, the better. Like, it's your chance to experiment because nobody's paying you. So yeah, I say go for it. Make some weird stuff. I think technically looking back, I probably would have done this cloth a little bit differently. I recently watched a video, and it was a Jim Lee, I think it was from his Twitch stream, and he was drawing a cape, and what he did was drew the edge of the cape first, all the swirls and where it cuts back in on itself and all that stuff, and then he drew how it connected from that instead of the other way around, if that makes sense. He tried to find out on one of his Twitch streams because it was super interesting, and it makes drawing cloth so much easier, and it looks more natural too. Because right now it looks a little flat on this, but I'll live and learn, I guess, right? This is what happens when you're going back and revisiting art from a year ago. And the thing is, if you can tell... So I used to get... I'll explain it this way. I used to get kind of frustrated when I look at my old art because I felt like it wasn't very good, and at the time I loved it. But that's actually a really good sign. That just means that you've grown as an artist. So if you make something, you think it looks great, and a week later you look at it and you think it looks terrible, that's because you've gotten better, and that's a good thing. So it's kind of, I think, part of the artist's curse, You're never really too satisfied with your own stuff. But in the end, I do think this turned out pretty good, and I'm still happy with it. There's just probably a couple things I would do a little bit differently. But anyway, the whole point of this is just to, do something creative. Become the artist that you want to be, and don't let people tell you what you need to paint. Just do whatever makes you happy, and that's how you're going to make the best art that you possibly can. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a great day. And hopefully I'll get another video out in probably about a week. Thanks.